Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. John Anderson from Pop Culture Archives. We have a really cool announcement to make. A couple days ago, we had signed a lease for our storefront. It'll be on Central Avenue in Columbia Heights, uh, suburb of Minneapolis, just to the north. So my last video was a month ago. We had done a kind of a walkthrough, some final negotiation before doing the official lease. Um, when the lease came in, it took about a week to get the lease. When the lease came in, there was some problems I had. One of them was discussing coin-operated machines, and there was a prohibition on it. They were particularly focused in on pop machines, but then it had disallowed any coin-operated machine, and I would need the landlord's permission. Now, I already have a plan to put a gumball machine in there. Um, I have a client of mine who I work out of his store a lot with with our auctions, and he told me we're never run out of quarters because. And the kids, the dad comes in the shop, is buying boxes, and the kid wants a gumball, and it's a fun value add. You get a fun gumball machine. So I was like, okay, well, I already want to put a gumball machine in there, and I bought a sticker machine that I'm trying to convert to a baseball card machine. I had also wanted to potentially put a pinball machine or an arcade machine, maybe work with somebody who does this, and maybe every 3 to 6 months sell a machine, get a new one, and just be something fun. Every so often we get a new machine into play, and make a little money on people playing the machine, make a little money on selling the machine, and I can see wanting to do like maybe a bank of toy vending machines, stuff like that. So anyway, I don't want to have to ask the landlord's permission to do this stuff. So I called my agent and tell him we got to strike all this stuff. This is um, not what I want to do. I don't want to, I don't want to ask their permission. And so he sends it back, and it takes a little while, and I get forwarded a email exchange from the property manager, and they had made two statements in the email exchange that concerned me. One was it, one was the issue of traffic. There was a mention of like not wanting traffic, and I found that perplexing because I'm trying to open a retail store and I want traffic. I don't want to discourage people from coming to my store. I want to encourage people to come to the store. And so I thought that was a little odd. And then there was a question about sound, which is reasonable. The sound stuff's reasonable. And then there was it was sound, it was traffic, and it was something else. And so I was like, okay, and I'm talking to my agent, and my agent had suggested that we do a conference call with the property manager and just sort of go over everything. Oh, the other thing was they had brought up hours. They said, well, he wants a pinball machine. What kind of hours is he trying to keep? Now, I had already mentioned to the listing agent that I had planned to keep some after hours, some extended hours for trade nights and other events. And so I had thought the property manager slash landlord already knew of this. And in the lease, there were no restrictions on hours. So we had the conversation. We had a conference call, and it went really well. The property manager's a really nice lady. Um, Seems like she understands what we're trying to do. It seems like she's excited about the type of store we're putting in there, and So all good, right? And so it takes another week. We get the lease. I look at the section, and it was worse than it started out, kind of. So during the call, I had talked about how, Friday, Saturday, I was planning on doing a trade night from 9 to maybe midnight. And it'll probably be more like 8 to midnight or 7 to midnight. But these are just plans, right? And so in the lease, I look in that section and it allows a gaming machine. And then it has a thing about sound, about noise. And it basically states that there can be a complaint. I can be given 10 days. If there's still a complaint, I have to remove it. Well, that's no different than needing permission and them telling me no. So, except I got to put it in there, and then I have the added expense and effort to remove it. And there was another line in there, and I could look it up, but it was just I don't know, it was worded differently, and words have meaning, and even though I didn't quite know what it meant, it scared me because I'm like, what does this mean? And there's a concept in real estate called quiet enjoyment. This is true for if you own your house, if you rent an apartment. I believe it's in English common law, whatever. Don't quote me on that. But it just states that, if you own a piece of property, you have the right to enjoy your property without somebody else coming in and infringing on that right. And one of those things is sound, and that's why cities have ordinances that restrict loud sounds after a certain hour. So, you can't mow your lawn at 11 o'clock at night. People are trying to sleep or they're trying to enjoy their night, and then you're out, mowing your lawn. so that's why they have that, because there's a basic concept of quiet enjoyment. And so I was like, my response was, I could go in there and pound on the common wall with my neighbor and tenant all day long, and if that's not in the lease, but am I allowed to do that? No, So it's the same thing, if I got a pinball machine and I can't mitigate the noise and my neighbor and tenant can hear it, and yeah, I'll just get rid of it. It's no. But because it was in the lease the way it was a very structural thing where it could be complaint, notice, complaint, removal, and there's nothing I could do about it. The other thing was there was now specifically in the lease. So the first lease didn't have any restrictions on hours. It just didn't say anything about hours. And now it became a restriction. So it said landlord allows tenant to keep hours Friday, Saturday from 9 to midnight. I'm like, no. This is not, this is not what I meant. I didn't mean like Friday, Saturday, 9 to midnight exactly, and that's what we're gonna do for sure, and it'll never change. It was like, hey, that's my plan going into it. But like it happened to be the 7th game of the World Series when I got this, and I told my agent, I go, I would be trying to host something for Game 7, and say, hey, come on down to the shop, watch the game, let's bust some boxes, do some trading, and have fun, and it's like a Tuesday or Wednesday or whenever Game 7 was. And so I was, I'm like, okay, we got to strike that. And then there was an added line about smoking and drinking on the premises, which was fine. I don't smoke or drink, nor do I enjoy either one of those things. And nor do I want people doing that in my shop. But then it also stated it could be read that I have now some responsibility to police the parking lot, and police the parking lot. If somebody's smoking, it's my job it's my responsibility to make sure they leave or stop. Now, effectively, I'm kind of already going to do that. If somebody's smoking next to my door, I'm going to be like, dude, you need to go somewhere not next to my door, because people don't like walking through a billow of smoke, walking into a property, and there's city ordinance already. I just, in the lease, if there's a line that states now I have added responsibility, I am not interested in taking on that responsibility, at least not contractually, even though I may take it on in spirit. And so I'm like, oh, I want to strike all that stuff. My agent sends a message back. That leads to another phone call between me and the property manager. And I'm trying to explain, and again, she's a really nice lady, and I think she's reasonable, but she's worried. So what happens here is I'm I don't want I don't want any restrictions on what I want to do, and I want to do whatever I want to do, and she wants to make sure that I don't do crazy stuff that hurts her business and the other tenants in the strip mall. And so, which I completely understand. And at one point in the conversation, I said, "Hey, this is what we're doing. I'm arguing my point, you're arguing your point, and we either come to an agreement, and we have a signed lease, or we don't, and we move on to something else." And that's what everything is, whether it's a sale or negotiating a lease or anything. It's just it is. Like I was a little frustrated in how long it was taking, but the back and forth. I mean, you just have to do it. It's not personal. And one of the things I had asked, I said, "Well, can you give me an example of something you're trying to prevent?" And she had stated that there's a problem they're having where there's a gym and they play music, and the people next to them, they can't hear the music, but they can feel the bass, and it's an office space, and so now there's a conflict. So, and I go, well, yeah, I mean, you kind of have to have music, if you're running a gym, and but at the same time, if you got an office, you don't want to be hearing dun, 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 all day long, and so yeah, so I get it, and I tried to assure her that now I have no interest in going to war with a neighbor or my landlord. That's not conducive to making a profit. Is spending a lot of emotional capital and time on warring with the landlord and another tenant. So like I said, if it was a thing where they're like, we can hear this pinball machine going, or I'm a loud guy. I'm hard of hearing. I'm a German. I'm really loud. Actually, a little side story. When I managed a GameStop, because of I'm hard of hearing, I can't hear my own voice. I have to sort of feel how loud I'm talking, and so sometimes my register will raise quite high, and so I would tell my part-timers, I would say, hey, if I'm yelling, I probably don't know that I'm yelling. Give me a signal, and so I can adjust my voice, and I appreciate it. And so I remember this one time I'm behind the register, and apparently I'm screaming at this customer. I'm like, if you buy the discount card today, well, I'm just yelling at it. And one of my part-timers, his name was Larry, he was a really cool guy. He walked, it was just me, this customer, and then Larry was out on the floor. And Larry walks behind the customer and then goes. so I go, but what the customer saw was, so if you buy this discount card, and then you'll get a discount on your items, and it's effectively free. So I just toned it way down. Customer's like, what the hell? So anyway, so my point being, like, we could just be loud, and if the neighboring tenant comes over and says, we can hear you guys, and because the neighbor to this space is a staffing agency, so yeah, they work in relative quiet, and if they're like, man, we can hear you, and it's just too loud, yeah, I mean, I got to figure out a way to mitigate that, because, well, that's the right thing to do, and I have an obligation to do so. So I tried to evoke that I was very interested in being a good neighbor and a good tenant. And so she said, all right, she needed a few days to redo the lease. To her term was softening language. When we got the lease in, this was last Friday, Monday. It was Monday. For some reason I think there was a weekend. I talked to her on Friday, and then we got the revised lease on Monday, and she softened the language. There was some stuff in there about, you know, no drinking and smoking, which is fine. I did give a concession. I said, if you want to write in the lease to limit me to one gaming machine, that's fine. I think there was some worry I was gonna implement an arcade in there or something, and really it's just some little side thing that I don't even have in place and may never do. But I want to do it if I can. And so I'm like, well, you want to limit me to one machine? That's fine. I'm not interested in doing arcade sales as a main product line. And so, sometimes you can give up something. So, like, I gave up something to her that had no value to me. So the concept that I'm going to put two arcade machines in a storefront that's not that big in the first place is basically an impossibility. There's no way I'm going to have two arcade machines in there at one time. So I quote unquote gave up something that was of value to her, but it was of no value to me, which is the perfect thing that you want to give up in a negotiation. So it helped quell any fears she might have that I'm going to have a big bank of arcade machines. And I was never intending on doing that, so it meant nothing to me to put it in the lease. So it was really cool. So Monday we signed it. And so now we're on the process of getting the wholesale contracts done with the sports card distributors. I need to find a toy distribution. I'm gonna have a small. This is a genius idea of mine. I'm a genius. I'm gonna have a small section, and it's gonna be blind bag toys. These toys that my daughter really loves to get. And here's my theory. My theory is, Dad comes in. Dad's dropping 600 on Bowman Draft, and kid wants something. And so I have a little section of blind bag toys, $4. It's kind of hard for Dad to say no to the $4 when he's spending 600. And so, get him a toy. So that's, an extra sale. But that's not really why I'm doing it, because, it's a $4 sale. Blind bag toys are basically packs of cards. It's packs of cards, and instead of cards, you get toys. And as that kid ages up, maybe it's something that'll lead them to be a collector in sports cards, or a collector in apparel, hat collector, what have you. And the other thing too is, if the kid went to my store once with his dad and got a toy, then not only are they not going to object when Dad wants to come to the store, they might go to Dad and go, "Hey, Dad, can we go to the store? Because they want a toy." And then while Dad's there, he buys another box of cards for me. I think that's genius. We'll see how well that works, or even if I can ascertain whether it's working or not. And then something my daughter is really excited about. I'm gonna name it like Kirby's Corner or something after her. So we're doing that. There's just a lot of work to be done in terms of just getting everything in order. I'm testing out some point of sale software that's also consignment software. I'm going to go with it, but it's extremely expensive. And yeah, if you called me, I'm sorry I hung up on you. So it's really expensive though. It's gonna be $2,000 for that setup. The space is kind of a weird space that we're going into. It was one big space, maybe a couple thousand feet, And then, so what there is, there's a shared hallway, and then I'm behind the staffing agency. It's one of those things where most people go in there and they look around and they're like, oh, I don't want to rent this. And somebody like me walks in there and goes, I like it. It's cool. It's weird. I like it. So right now it's a bunch of offices. It's like one, two, three. It's three offices and a kitchen. With a little tiny common area. And so what they're gonna do is they get 90 days to build it out, which is basically they're not really building anything. They're ripping stuff down. So they're gonna rip all the walls off. They're gonna fix the lighting and the ceiling and paint, and they're pretty much gonna provide me with a shell. And then I gotta put in flooring. So it'll only be about 800-ish feet for the main space. There'll be 100, be like 7 something feet for the main area. It'll be 100 something feet for the kitchen, for storage and other stuff I can do there. And then there's a private bathroom, so that's nice. So I got to be really creative. There's not a lot of space to maneuver. There's a fire door I'm gonna have to deal with that's sort of in the common space. So yeah, I mean it's doing that's gonna be difficult. What I'm gonna want to do is I'll do a video probably right before we open, and I'll go through all of my startup costs and give you guys a good idea, like what does it cost just to get the door open on day one, and go through what I spent. And of course it'll be different depending on your business, but I think that's something that people don't spell out too often. Everybody wants to act like they're a baller and they're making money hand over fist and they're flipping. I hate the word flipping. Like, the concept of flipping is like, I bought it and I got rid of it 5 minutes later and I made, $50,000 in 5 minutes. And it's like, no, we're not flipping. We're securing inventory and we're selling it. It's work. It's real work. It's not, the stuff we got here, like, I had to find it, I had to buy it, I had to market it. Then once I sell it, I gotta package it, I gotta make sure my customers are happy, I gotta price it properly. This isn't flipping. So, I think it's gonna go well. It's a lot of paperwork. The amount of paperwork for distribution is crazy. One of the problems I'm going to have is they want pictures of the shop. Well, I don't have a shop yet. They want pictures of my signage. Well, the signs aren't up yet. But I want it all done so day one I can have product. So I can send them the lease, but I have a feeling I'm going to have to jump through a few hoops to figure out to get this set. They get 90 days to build it out. They expressed to me that they thought 3 to 5 weeks. So there's a small chance I'm open, and I need some time myself. There's a small chance we open in December before Christmas, but I have a feeling it's going to be first of the year at the earliest, which is really the worst possible time to open a store is dead of winter in Minnesota after Christmas. But what are you gonna do? I mean, things took longer than I thought. But we're doing it as we do it. So I'm gonna have to be converting my inventory over to a new inventory system and tagging and just setting up the store and buying all the fixtures. So the next 45 days, I'm going to have a lot of work. I'm going to really try and do videos and sort of document the process. Because I think it would be really fun for my daughter to watch it down the line. I think it would be fun for the people that like watching my videos anyways to sort of see how, a store gets started. And that's where we're at. I may continue to hold off on doing sold videos for a while, but I'll still try to do them once in a while if I can. Most of the videos I'll be doing is talking about the store and how we're getting it set up and updates on that. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, everybody, and hopefully we'll have a shop up and running sooner rather than later. Have a good day.